Good morning and thank you for joining us. Every time we think that this is it and now PSU banks will turn around, we discover there is a new problem. Once banks were recapitalized, we thought that the darkest dusk for PSU banks were over. They've got capital now and they will be able to, they will start the lending cycle once again. But given the kind of commentary which we've got from at least the large and mid-tier banks who've come out with numbers so far, I'm getting a sense that the tunnel is going to be long and the light at the end of the tunnel is still a distance away.
Yeah, you are right that we are all very confident after the recapitalization things will improve. But you should also see that there were a lot of things which are still a work in progress, and the Reserve Bank of India circular actually ensured that all cleanups take place overall. I think the government and the Reserve Bank of India are in sync and to ensure that there's a total cleanup of all assets which are not been performing, which have not been in a position to realize and make their payments on time. And therefore, this particular cleanup exercise is a sort of a cleaning up the entire banking books once for all. Yes, and that will going to be a lot of pain in the short run, but and once the capitalization takes place, I think things will start improving. And as I think the Honorable Finance Minister also mentioned, the lending which had led to a lot of stress in the system will right now become very concentrated on good quality assets, and the banks will start assessing them very closely, and the promoters also will be coming on board. The new circular of February more or less ensures that the promoters and the banks work together, that the accounts are do not slip, and any restructuring is done with a proper plan, a failure of which will result in the accounts going to the NCLT. So I think all this sort of put some sort of a framework in mind where you can work going forward and see that the projects take off smoothly. And always whenever you have to clean up the dirt, a lot of dust will come, a lot of issues will come. And once the entire thing is cleaned up, probably you'll start with a clean slate and go forward much more strongly. We do expect that the capitalization, additional capitalization may also have to come. You also have to understand that during the period after September 2017, the yields have gone up sharply, and so much so that banks who have had to maintain a higher SLR had to make additional mark-to-market provisions. So there has been some dispensation. So that is also something which has gone towards getting the losses for the public sector banks. Going forward, I think by the end of the year, I won't certainly say in the first 2 quarters, but certainly by the end of the year, things should be on track, and maybe end 19, we will have a much rosier picture than what we have right now.
My next question is that when AQR1 happened, all bankers, they came out and said, this is it. We have taken care of all the NPAs, we have been aggressive, we have been forthright, and now we are promising you that the NPA problems will not come through. Then comes the new RBI circular. The fact that RBI had to come out with a circular in the month of Feb, it just tells you that banks clearly were not very transparent about their books, or they were not recognizing the problems. So what is really keeping some of the banks back in cleaning up their books in one shot? I mean, it's like saying that rather than having this tiny torture of recognizing, NPAs 1 quarter here, 1 quarter there, why can't they just go all out, admit the problems, let investors decide what they want to do with them, and then start with the clean slate? You said that, we should start with the clean slate, but none of the banks have attempted to start with the clean slate.
Yeah, I would say that, even the AQR was an attempt to start with a clean slate. Was an attempt to start with a clean slate. The only issue there was, at that time, there were certain schemes which are available through which we are putting through. In fact, you must have also heard that the overseeing committee had cleared about 15 to 16 proposals. Many of them were either implemented or in the course of implementation. But when the entire schemes have been removed, therefore now we start with a fresh resolution plans and go ahead, or take the cases to NCLT. So now the cases under the AQR, after the IBC came, we had a particular path by which we could proceed, and that particular path is now has been taken. So we are seeing the results trickle by trickle, where a couple of resolutions have taken place under the IBC NCLT procedure, and going forward that will be something to ensure that many of the larger cases will get resolved. So we do expect that the process is going to be painful, but it will be a clear cut separation from the past, where there was a tendency to give some small injection of infusion of funds to see that it's floating and therefore things will improve. But now I think it's a clear cut procedure where the banks will ensure that the project either takes off fully or it goes to NCLT for a proper resolution.
I think, Mr. Kannan, the problem also comes in the time these processes take. So in the RBI's recent circular, where they completely banished all the restructuring plans and said, go down, recognize a bad loan as an NPA, provide for it. If it's not being recovered, go to the NCLT, resolve the process. That was a breath of fresh air, because it kind of brought up the skeletons from the closet. But the point is, it's still taking a lot of time. Each one of these individual processes, from recognition to resolution, is taking a lot of time. You're telling us that by the end of the year, things will look a lot better. What convinces you that one will be able to, speed up the process of cleanup?
You have to understand that the IBC process and the NCLT process has been something new, which has started only about a year and a half ago. In fact, I would say it started sometime in June. Only a few cases were filed before that, and it's a learning process. The various issues which is coming up, and India, being a very strong democratic country, has this recourse to appeals and re-appeals. I think we need to let the law take its course, and the way it's proceeding, I think we are going to have some finality. Yes, it is a long drawn process, but I think at the end of the day, we need to see that it is certainly much better than the earlier process, where courts used to take 20 years, 25 years under BIFER, or even before under the courts or the DRTs. So this will have some finality and a change of promoter, and if the project is totally unviable, so let it go into liquidation, and therefore it works out. Yes, delay will be there, but it will not be as delayed as in the past. And today we probably will have 6 months plus 9 months, maybe around 23 months, 24 months. In 2 years, every project which is sticky will have a final solution.
Just the other angle to the story is, as part of the IBA, the organization is essentially been set up for promoting progressive banking principles and practices, Mr. Kannan. We talk so much about the effect, which is the NPAs, the recognition, the Cleanup Act. What about the cause, the poor lending practices? I know steps are being taken in that direction, but don't you think that the checks and balances should be tightened there at the starting point of this problem? I know some of the PSU banks have been brought under the ambit of saying, don't lend for some time. But isn't that supposed to be extended out to the entire industry? Check your lending practices.
You could say that this could be an instruction saying that, please have a proper policy where you are you do not end up financing weaker accounts, and therefore the end of the day, the Reserve Bank of India also wants to have preservation of capital. So for the signal is very clear: please finance only the very viable and strong projects, and therefore don't end up going for projects which are just about average, and which could mean that there could be a hit on your capital. So the lending practices will be more tuned towards high quality assets, and that will augur good for the Indian overall economy. Yes, in the short run, that could be some promoters who might feel that they have been loose change, but I think they will also come up to the fact that they need to turn up their own performance to get bankers to finance them.
Okay, Mr. Kannan, appreciate your time. Let's keep our fingers crossed. As of now, the market outlook towards PSU banks is dim. I hope there is some resolution in the in sight, and hopefully next time when we interact, we'll be talking about brighter things, not depressing and dull things.
No, Mr.